Italy, we have a young woman who's, I'm not allowed to say it because usually it's the end of your political career if you say it. She's a beautiful young woman. Now, if you use the word beautiful in the United States about a woman, that's the end of your political career, but I'll take my chances. Where is she? There she is. You don't mind being called beautiful, right? Because you are. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. She wanted to be here, and she's incredible, and they really respect her in Italy. She's a very successful politician. It's such a compliment to what we're doing, because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So it's perhaps the wealthiest and most powerful group of nations ever assembled at one time, which is a big thing. We have achieved together in recent days a change that really is historic, and it's going to be remembered forever. And I want to thank the American team for their amazing work, and I think he'll go down as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of our country. I really believe that, Marco, or I wouldn't say it. Marco Rubio, I wouldn't say it.
Joining us live now is former Israeli intelligence officer Avi Melamed. Avi, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. How are you feeling on a day like today, given the emotion, given the politics that you've just heard there, but more so the emotion of the exchange of hostages and prisoners?
Next week we get. Well, this is, of course, a very emotional day for Israelis, including myself, of course. We are very happy to see our brothers back home. We still remember that there are other hostages, unfortunately, deceased. They're hostages in Gaza, and they have to be brought back.
It must be a bittersweet feeling on that point, because as I understand it, only 4 bodies have been returned, those who've been deceased, where Israel were being told more than 20 were there. But now Hamas is saying, well, we don't know where they are.
Yes, it was expected, and I think that Hamas is not necessarily playing here. I think that there is some difficulty in finding and tracing the remains of those who unfortunately died in Gaza Strip, the kidnapped, the hostages. So we knew that it's going to take some time, maybe some long time, until some of them will be retrieved.
Both sides don't trust each other. Is the war over?
I would say that we have witnessed now the end of the hostilities period, but this is all under one big question mark. All the talks about peace are a little bit exaggerated, of course. We are in a very, very sensitive and fluid situation, and we should expect that phase to continue. I mean, we should remember that on the one hand, Hamas is still not disarmed itself. Its tunnels are still out there. Israel maintains military presence in Gaza Strip. So we are looking at a very, very fluid situation that could be changing every given moment. So I think that we should be very cautious looking at the situation and basically looking at one step at a time to see how things will evolve.
So given your experience from an intelligence point of view, what will you do now? I mean, I know Israel's had to pull back to a withdrawal line. But from an intelligence standpoint, what do you do to make sure that Hamas is upholding its side of the deal?
Well, you maintain a very, very close watch to see what Hamas is doing. Now, in that perspective, the most significant thing currently is the Israeli military presence on the ground, particularly along the lines that are supposed to cut Hamas attempts to renew the supply of weapons into Gaza Strip, namely particularly in parallel to the area of the Gaza-Egypt border, the famous Philadelphia corridor, and the famous area of Rafah. That has to be encompassed with a very strict and increasing intelligence efforts on the ground, which, by the way, has to be done in coordination with other agencies to make sure that there will be no flow or reflow of ammunition and weapons into Gaza Strip, particularly from the Egyptian side. So when you're talking about from an intelligence perspective, this is, of course, one of the major tasks. There are other tasks, for example, to follow and to see what is evolving inside Gaza Strip in terms of the tension within Gaza Strip between Hamas factors on the one hand and the other large clans in Gaza Strip. There has been reports in the last couple of days of exchange of fires between the groups. There is weapon out there in Gaza Strip, and there is a lot of, I would say, animosity within Gaza Strip, between the different factors. So we have to look at a situation where we are not witnessing an emergence of Somalia-style chaos in Gaza Strip in that very fragile phase, because, as I said before, and I have to re-emphasize that this is a very fragile phase. We should have no illusion. We should be very aware of that.
So what you're saying is, given the rival factions within Gaza, there might well be a civil war, if you like, within Gaza itself, as whoever emerges jockeys for power.
Yes, this is one of the major concerns expressed by Palestinians themselves. In fact, some senior officers in the Palestinian Authority expressed that concern, and it's not a baseless concern. We already saw on the ground expressions of that. I don't know to use the term necessarily civil war, but in the end of the day, when you are looking at the current situation in Gaza Strip with all the challenges inside Gaza Strip, we are looking at a situation that has a potential of a vacuum, and that vacuum, we know that based upon experience in different parts of the region, I mentioned earlier Somalia, we could look at what happened in Iraq or Syria, that vacuum could result in a chaotic situation which could radiate a region.
So how do you control all that? I mean, it's a wasteland. Gaza is a wasteland at the moment. There's just not much of it left. So how do you conduct intelligence? Is it all from the sky? Will the drones continue?
Well, you're talking about intelligence gathering capacities and methods. It's not the only one. And there should be, and obviously I would expect there are many others, intelligence gathering capacities that are being applied on the ground. I think that one of the most significant components here in the context of intelligence is the need to cooperate with other agencies, because it's a multi-front effort that it has to be done, covered by different intelligence agencies and by good cooperation.